Well, an investigation by the Fifth Estate and Radio Canada has found serious issues with the Canada Revenue Agency. The report says that thousands of taxpayer accounts were hacked and that the CRA repeatedly paid out millions in fraudulent refunds. That's left many questioning how it handles taxpayer information and why there was no public alert. To put some of this into context, we're joined now by Ritesh Kotak, who is in Toronto. He's a cybersecurity and tech analyst. Ritesh, good to have you on the show. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, Ritesh, I was absolutely surprised. We spoke with the Fifth Estate producer, Harvey Kishore, just last hour, and he said they've gone into this investigation. They've found that thousands of Canadian accounts have been hacked. The hackers were changing people's addresses, their banking information, and millions of dollars were paid out incorrectly. I was surprised. I think others were. Were you?
I was not surprised. This is not the first time that we've actually seen a breach or through the CRA. We saw this with what were called credential stuffing attacks that happened a few years ago. That's essentially when individuals recycled usernames and passwords. Hackers were able to use the exact same credentials to log in because there was no friction. There was no multi-factor authentication, getting a text message to verify its use. Since then, the government has changed that, but there's another loophole that's been exploited, and that is delegated access. So let's face it, most of us, we probably give our taxes to file to our accountant, our bookkeeper. Well, they get access to those accounts as well. And those credentials, it seems, doesn't have the same rigor or scrutiny to access. And once you get into the account, to this delegated access, looks like you got free reign. You can change banking information, file false returns, and have that money transferred. And it's shocking that this has happened.
Why? How is this allowed to happen? Why isn't there tougher security around this? I mean, this is as important as it theoretically gets. This is people's money, their savings, their investments, all that information about their retirements. I just don't understand how this is not a bigger thing.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. This is a big deal. The reality is that, okay, from a user standpoint, you can do everything. You can have a GC key, you can have multi-factor authentication, you can do all that stuff. But the second you give delegated access, it seems that there isn't the same scrutiny, and how this is able to happen, how the same security protocols that are put in place for individuals, it seems haven't been put on for potentially individuals that you give access to. Your guess is as good as mine on why there seems to be two standards here.
Let me ask you about the fact that the public was not informed. And even when questions were asked, initially the CRA told CBC News that it's just been a few hundred hacks, but it turns out there were thousands and thousands. So what is the obligation for the CRA to make this information public?
I think transparency is absolutely essential. This is taxpayers' money that's being fraudulently paid out. These are also individuals' accounts. So if you become a victim of this type of attack, where essentially a false return gets paid, or there is additional or direct deposit information gets changed, that also needs to now be reversed. And I think that probably has some sort of adverse effect on an individual. So yeah, I think individuals should have been notified. The public should have been made aware. And if there was this gap with delegated access, why was it not patched? Why was it not communicated sooner? Because it's not just big accounting firms that could have access. It's also bookkeepers, independent individuals that have been authorized to gain access. So this could be thousands of accounts, if not millions of accounts, that could potentially be prone to this type of attack.
I wanted to ask you about the possibility of artificial intelligence and its role in all of this, because there have been so many reports that as artificial intelligence grows in its speed and sophistication, that it's just hacking away. It has the capacity to just hack away millions of accounts in a millisecond, trying to get access, and that public institutions just don't have the capability of fighting it. Is there a way that it is both the problem but also the solution?
Yeah, is it a sword or a shield? Is kind of the analogy. And here's the thing: like when it comes to artificial intelligence and these generative models, there are systems out there that are created for nefarious purposes. For example, find a bug in a system or a vulnerability and then write code to exploit that. But at the same time, AI could be used to look for anomalies. So if all of a sudden, if an individual's account is being changed, if the IP address doesn't match up, if there's just anything that kind of raises a red flag, AI does have the ability to flag it and mitigate it faster than any human being. And I think these systems are in place, but it really is a game of just keeping up because it is changing at such a rapid rate.
So, Ritesh, with all that in mind, what should the CRA be doing to protect Canadian citizens, but what should we as individuals be doing to make sure we're not caught up in this mess, if there is anything we can do?
I tell people not to recycle usernames and passwords. That's number one. Number two is make sure that you do monitor your accounts, sign up for credit monitoring services as well. So if something nefarious does happen, hopefully it can be mitigated. But quite frankly, in this particular matter, this was delegated access. So if you are an individual where there is delegated access, just make sure that that you have the proper security protocols in place, that you are enabling all the security features, and you're following up to make sure that your customer account, in this case Canadians, isn't compromised in any way. And essentially from that, there's not much more we can do.
Ritesh, I'm supposed to let you go, but I got to push back on that a bit. Life is busy and it's hard, and to have multiple passwords for so many things, and then I got to check on my bank account, half the stuff most of us don't understand to begin with. So shouldn't some of the responsibility fall upon organizations like the Canada Revenue Agency? Like, hey, we're trusting you. This is your responsibility now.
There is a component of it where the default isn't just you can use an email address and a simple password. You force people to use multi-factor authentication, but also make sure that individuals are notified. So for example, in this case, if the direct deposit information was changed, why was a user not notified in that very moment? I don't get a notification when my accountant files my taxes or if any account information gets changed. So yes, there is a responsibility on the CRA here, and we all have to do our part. We all got skin in the game.
Okay, fair enough. Ritesh Kotek, always good to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.